Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Listing Queens podcast and YouTube training. I am your coach, Jan Copeland, and I'm with my better half, Dan. Hi.
Well, I'm half.
Yeah,
Better.
half, my better half. Okay. Listen, I have been experiencing so many of my clients who are married who or dating someone, and half of them have supportive spouses and half of them do not. So I'm encouraging you to, if you're on the podcast, listen to this in the car with your spouse or your boyfriend. And if you're on YouTube, let's just watch this with him. Okay. Because we're going to help them, right, hon? We're
Right.
going to help them. All right. So, what the first question for you, Dan, is some of our women whose boyfriends or husbands do not support them, I think, is because they're not entrepreneurs. They have full-time jobs.
Mhm.
So when I took the leap at your suggestion to get my license, and I was 3 or 4 months in, I didn't have any deals. And I want you to talk to the husbands out there about how you viewed that, because I got my first deal, my first closing 6 months in. So can you share with them any kind of input into how you felt when month after month I wasn't bringing in money,
Oh
and
yeah.
talk about that?
Hey guys. So it's scary, isn't it? It's such a big deal for Jan to get her real estate license. I remember all the studying, all the tests, and then going down and passing the tests and lining everything up and talking about business. And then the, but the reason it didn't surprise me too much that it took her a little while to get rolling is because it took a good bit of time to get set up to begin with. So you should at least allow that much time to actually get rolling. And also, I think it comes down to just showing a lot of belief in your spouse or your girlfriend, because without showing that belief, it just sucks the energy out of her. And I think when you show the belief, it kind of brings some sort of energy. I don't say that in a woo-woo kind of way, but it really does. It more empowering and that kind of thing. So yeah, it definitely, a couple of months go by and you're like, well, what's going on? You're thinking, but you just know that given time and consistency, and if they're doing what they love, they're gonna it's gonna be fine.
It's
So you
gonna
just have
happen.
to, yeah, just have to show that patience.
It's gonna
It's
happen.
not always easy,
Right.
right?
And I remember because as I shared with the listeners, that I was super successful in sales and outside sales and corporate. And so you did mention to me, gosh, I don't know why this isn't landing with you. But at the same time, even though you did express that at one time, most of the time you were super supportive, and that really invigorated me and energized me. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, number two question is, we have four. Number two is, I spent a lot of money. Well, the word a
Yeah.
lot is subjective, because our littlest was 5, and then mine was 12, and yours was 9. So we had
Mm.
3 kids, 5, 9, and 12. Hello. You know what that's like if
Yeah.
you're living that life right now.
Got to spend a lot of money on them.
Yeah. And so I needed a great laptop. I was an early adopter. I was one of the first in the office as a brand new one to get a smartphone. I don't know if you remember that. And so talk to me about how you dealt with the money that I was spending, and what your viewpoint, your perspective of that which I spent.
Yeah, so I'd grab my chest and almost keel over, right? But what do you do in life where if you give a little investment, you get a little in return. If you give a big investment, you get big return. At least that's kind of the way I looked at it. What would I rather invest my money in? Stock market, or my wife, who needs to have that foundation to get going. So you gotta pay to play.
Love
And
it.
so I basically told myself, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to be generous and give and allow us to do the right investment. The other thing is, if you don't invest much, you're not going to, you're potentially not going to get as much. So we just kind of went out there,
Yeah,
didn't we?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The definition of an entrepreneur is a person who takes greater risk than the average. We took a lot of risk. We took a lot of risk.
Roll
And,
the
when
dice.
you have 3 little kids and all of their sports and all of their other,
Mhm.
extracurricular activities, we blended 2 families, and it was a real scary time. So thank you for your support. And okay,
Sure.
here's the next thing. So then I got after my, first closing at 6 months, um, I figured out that I needed to be me and stop being like trying to be like these other people that lived there that were Southern and I wasn't Southern and the whole thing. To step into my 5'11", tall, blonde, crazy self, right? And and I niched on helping women. And I started what is now a monthly networking group called Women of Winchester.
Mhm.
And basically I did that because the local women's networking events were filled with old money and they didn't want me there. I wasn't old money. They called me a blow-in because they knew they could tell I wasn't local.
And you just blew into
And I
town.
just blew into town. And so when I was starting this Women of Winchester, and my clients know exactly what I'm talking about, it was a very successful, it still is going, monthly networking event for women. Now, when I started that, it was the night before we were going to launch. My marketing on that was no clicks allowed. And the reason that was my marketing draw was because, again, any of the other women networking events were very cliquish. It was obvious they didn't want me there. And I'm like, fine, then I'll just go create something for the misfits, right? Which became amazing, as I said. So, Dan,
Yeah.
the night before, actually, it was the afternoon before, one of my friends who was on the board of the local chamber, she goes, Jan, are you sitting? And I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And she goes, I just attended an all hands meeting at the chamber, and there were 12 of us with one goal to take you down. And she said, I kept my mouth shut, and the entire other 11 people were strategizing how to sabotage your monthly networking event. And it went on and on for about 15 minutes. And I started bawling my eyes out. And again, we were supposed to start the next day, and I had over 100 women already registered. Okay. That's when you know that it was needed. I think we had 104 that time. I'm not sure. But I walked in the house crying and I told you this. And I want you to tell everybody listening or watching, what did you say? Because I said, Dan, maybe I shouldn't do this. I already have a really successful business. I was already making over 250,000. And I'm like, I don't really need this aggravation. What did you say?
Am I allowed to swear on this? Because I said, why don't you go kick their beep? Yeah, good luck. I said, are you kidding? Go do it. Go for it. Be you. Ignore that. Ignore that. Because when you have to form a little committee to figure out how to take someone down, it probably means you're not that successful anyway, and you're operating out of a place of fear. So just screw them. Don't even think about them. Go do what you do, right?
Mm,
And
that's so
yeah,
good.
and you did.
That's true. That's what he did. And
Yeah.
he hugged me, and um, it was amazing. It was amazing both for me as a human being to be like, oh, this is what a bully is. Like these women were bullies. And I want to say within 2 years, my best friend became the president of the chamber. God is so good. And she came to my event as a speaker. And from that point forward, the two did not compete with each other. And I attended their events, they attended my events, and it just astronomically made my business
So that's the outcome
so
that you
much more.
wanted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, you were focused on delivering an excellent experience for the attendee. They
Yep.
were focused on how to make it so that you wouldn't be successful.
Hmm.
Where should the focus have been? That's why I
Right.
just said ignore them.
Right.
Focus on delivering with excellence. You
I'm so
did.
glad you did that.
Yeah.
I'm so because I was ready to go.
Yeah,
Like
I don't take any
how many
credit.
of you would have wanted to be done with it? I did. I wanted to be done with it,
Although I
but
had to carry tons of stuff to your events.
you love it. All right, now, final question. Husbands, if you're listening, and wives, if your husbands and boyfriends aren't listening, just take snippets from this and drop seeds, drop seeds, drop seeds, because This is out of the mouth of my husband, who really supported me, even though he hadn't been an entrepreneur at that point. He didn't know what it was like. All right. So, Dan, lastly,
Yeah.
um, some of the husbands or live-in boyfriends are telling women realtors to get a real job. And or they are like when they come home from work, what they think is a stable, better option, they say, "Hey, what'd you do today? Did you get a new client today?" And they're like asking these questions that are so like, and if not, are you going to go get that job? So what should they say instead? Like what is your
Yeah, guys,
viewpoint on
what
that?
why would you be saying that? Are you making the kind of arrogant assumption that you just know better than them and so you feel like you can ask them what they're doing or why they're doing it?
Mm,
You know, they don't come to your work and ask you what you're doing and how you're spending your time and that kind of thing. So, um, when you ask that question, it's because you're afraid that you're not going to get the outcome that you want. And that's their success and a lot of money coming into the house. Yeah. Focus on the person, not the process. Focus on the person, not the money. Um, Figure out how you can be supportive and helpful, but in a genuine sense, not in a kind of pejorative sense or condescending sense, or because it just doesn't do any good. It's
mhm,
not going to help your relationship. It's not going to help her to be, energized and enthused.
mhm.
And so I think that you just have to trust and maybe lock up some of those comments and just see how you can help.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you said trust, Dan, because I'm in a trust series and I have a trust framework series, or I can't even think, a trust framework training coming up February 17th. Ladies, you want to get in there because trust is an essential foundation for you having an exponentially amazing business. And I want to say that when my clients share with me that their husband or live-in boyfriend or whatever are saying every night when they come home from work, "Hey, what'd you do today? Did you get any deals? Do you have any new deals? Like, what are we doing? Why aren't you getting another job, right? Why aren't you getting a real job, right? Real job in quotes." What I tell them is this: try this. It works 100% of the time. When they approach you, you say, "Well, you know what? You ask me that all the time. Let me ask you a question. What did you do all day?"
Yeah.
And just say, "And did you like, I don't know if they're not sales, like, were you productive today? What things did you accomplish this week? Or what did you accomplish today?" Because immediately that will be like, that will shut them down because they don't want the same thing that they're giving you. They don't want to answer these questions, right? Would any husband want to answer these questions?
Can I say something to the guys?
Yeah.
All right, two things. Number one, then she ended up making more money than I would have than she could have ever made at any, I think, just standard job.
Mhm.
Number two is I'm not saying this stuff like, hey, look how great and supportive I am. I could write a book on really stupid things to say to your wife, how to be a terrible husband, and all. I really could, and all of that stuff. But regarding what we've talked about today, I'm really saying that with like truth behind it and try it. Try to take some of those suggestions. I'm on your side. I've been where you've been. I feel what you feel. I've felt what you feel and
Mhm.
have worried about the things that you worry about too. And so I've had to kind of grind my way through it too. But being supportive is really the best
It's
thing.
the best thing.
Yeah.
In a marriage, we each give 100%, not one give 50 and the other 50. It's each giving 100. So I hope this has been helpful. As always, give me the feedback, hit the like button, hit the share button, share this out because I can tell you it happens more than it doesn't happen. And lastly, reach out so that you can get into February 17th's Trust Framework, where I share the trust trifecta
Oh,
that is
that's cool.
guaranteed for you to make 2025 your best year ever and live in alignment with your assignment. All right, I'll talk to you
The
soon.
trifecta. That thing's
Trifecta.
cool.